Alright folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join us in the beautiful landscape of Scotland, overlooking the vast wild North Sea, leading in to the Tay River here, the River Tay I should say, which is up that way past Dundee. And in today's video we're hoping to come here and document some World War II chain home low radar which was in the land. Oh aye, look, an old pillar. I wonder if one time, there's been a mansion house down here somewhere at one time folks, and there's evidence in the land of it. And I'm just wondering if this was it, or it could have been chain home related. Basically we're on a hill which is called the Laws, and it overlooks this incredible vast landscape of Scotland, and there's ancient history like we documented in the last video, an ancient hill fort dating back to the Iron Age time, but also Neolithic history and vitrified rocks. So from what we've seen so far, there's not actually any sign of this chain home radar, and sometimes the buildings and that got destroyed at the end of the war. But we're going to go down this secondary track over this way and just see if there is any related buildings. Normally you can tell the World War II constructions with the red brick, originally coated with the cement render. So there is an interesting construction in the middle of the field there. I'm not sure what it is, but it's fenced off. If anything, I believe it may be a water supply for something which has been over here. Maybe an old mansion house. There was a mansion house in the lands here, and I believe there is scars and skeletons of that history in the land from the old mansion that was here. So today's adventure, we're going to document that as well as the World War II history. But on this channel, we'll basically just come with respect to the landowners and try and see as much history as we can. Obviously if it's like private ground, we don't really like poking. But look, I think that's the old track down to the estate walled garden. And yeah, I'm not sure, there's old like concrete bases and stuff up the hill. Oh, there's an old caravan down here as well. Oh, I just wanted to see, there's an old building here and it's got so much character. Obviously if there's a private house or residence here, we'll turn around and come back out. This is cool. If we can get around to this building folks, this is super cool. So this is actually the site of an old abandoned mansion folks. We thought we were going to look at World War II radar history, but this has actually been it, 'cause I can see bits of the old wall. And there was a metal fence which must have been where the foundation of the place had been, and there's a big thick chunk that looks even older than the age of the mansion. The architecture is just so incredible on this. That's what we do on this channel, we're just having a wee walk around here. We never go in buildings or force our way into things if they're not open, but we just like often having a walk past, because every year the weather takes its toll. So to see things like this in the land, even that bit of wall, we'll go and take a wee look at that. This is so interesting. At a certain time they've bricked it up, maybe used it as a shed for the nearby farm. And I think that could have even been a ducat or a water tank up the hill there. The nearest construction will be a water tank, for sure. Yeah, look at the old metal tank here. This is an interesting bit. Oh, look at that, I wonder what that's been. Part of the original architecture. And look at this old pillar, maybe put in to stop tractors like hitting it. Whoa, what even is this folks? Hey, it's mad. It's totally fallen down. There's been bits added to it I think and taken away obviously. Yeah, this could have been part of the old mansion, eh? Right. But maybe this could have been a shed or a garage or a cart shed. The landscape around here is beautiful folks, and look, there's something in that field with 4 metal bits. Would that be chain home radar related? I'm going a wee bit closer to look over the fence. Wow, this is cool folks. I love going to areas I've never been, and there's so much history up here on the hill at the Laws. Not only the ancient hill fort, the World War II radar, but also the abandoned mansion history. And sometimes it's a mixture on the video, even just thinking of which story to tell, or even try to uncover what we're looking at. That could be farming related. When I saw this building in the distance though, I just thought it's so worth just coming down. The character of the old chimneys. Sometimes there was so many mansion houses or even castles or big houses in Scotland. Highlander says there's some history over here still in position. We'll go and have a look in. But check out this wall. Looks like there's been a lot more here. See, this could be where the original mansion was, I believe. This would have all been inside the mansion. Wow, it's been deep here. Yeah, wow, check. Whoa, that goes away under the ground. What the heck? I'm gonna have to go in. Look at this massive slab. Watch, don't knock that onto my head. Look at this, folks. We're literally going under the ground. There's another opening. Whoa! Here, who even knew all this? Here, there's a spiral staircase going down. There's an underground room. We've just randomly found this. Folks, this is absolutely so cool. Here, I'll lighten up the footage at this point. Look, this must have been the old mansion larder. We need to keep it moving because we've actually got a time limit today. Look, the sun going that way as well. Wow, this is massive. Oh look, it's the old cellars with the stone sections for laying stuff in. Whoa, who would have even known this was in here? Look at the old floor. So well kept at this further in area. Now look at the old tenants can, wow! Look at that, folks. The old tenants lager can with the old ring pool. It's so well kept, eh? Wow, that shows we're under the old mansion house. Wow. That's what I mean, folks. You never know on this channel what you're about to see. You have to follow your instinct. Look, it's hood wiring. Yeah, that's almost like the World War II wiring. Whoa! Original hooks for hanging like carcasses of the pigs or whatever they were going to eat. Whoa, this is amazing. Who would have even known? Like, I love it. If there's a hole in the ground, you have a look in Scotland, you never know what you're going to see. And I have lighted up this clip here that you're witnessing slightly in the editor. So I'll put it back to the standard brightness now. This is incredible here, folks. That's me back to the standard brightness. And look, these hooks are all the way around. And they have had electricity, so that shows in the 1800s, early 1900s, they were most likely using this. This would have been part of the underground storage of the house. Whoa, there's bits going away under there. Years of history, folks, and we just love to see it. Obviously, if anybody comes to these locations, I wouldn't advise them going poking about, trying to force their way in. We didn't go in unless it's like available and wide open. But to see that and to document it, it's so cool, and it tells you the story of history that was on this location. That was almost like we got a sneak peek into the mansion house. We just visited Victorian Britain right there. And yeah, wow, there's remains of bits of the mansion must have looked like this. You can see the old windows and the wee fireplaces and the old lath and plaster on the roof. Even remains of the lights. This would have been a small part of what was the massive mansion. That was cool. The World War II history kind of led us to this. Because folk often say, how do you know the history's there? How do you find it? And we can't even answer that. Yeah, under this whole area, that's the underground section basically, this whole bit. And often the mansions had a whole area under the ground for a long time. Like, because sometimes the food would be stored down there, but often the servants and stuff were at a lower level away from the main families. Wow, that was so cool, folks. That's just completely made this adventure. I'm wanting to have a look over this corner. Obviously this area is nowadays used by the local farmer. We come with respect of the farmer. We just like to document the history and then we're out of the way. I was just looking down here to make sure there's no little World War II buildings or whatever that we've missed. But it doesn't look like it. With a place like that, folks, that's probably the first time it's ever been seen on YouTube and ever documented. And you get an essence of the exterior architecture with the building, and now you get an essence of how it would have been inside the castle with what we saw under the ground. to keep on finding these fresh places like every week that we've never been and never seen, it just blows my mind. And it's so cool to share the history of Scotland for all time periods. The last adventure, when we were up the ancient hill fort, that kind of led us to find this by coincidence. And it has just been magic. These trees would have been planted probably back when the big house behind us was in its prime. So the old mansion house was actually in that area there, but up ahead is where I believe the old stables had been, which is still current buildings, look well kept, but we're just going to walk past and document them so you get an essence of the architecture which would have matched the architecture of the mansion. And one of the tallest buildings up here was actually the old Ducat, so it is cool to see that and document it. So look at that, folks, the tallest building's actually the Ducat, which would have been the home of the pigeons. And then these other buildings, maybe farm worker buildings or people related to the actual massive mansion that we just saw the remains of. I think this would have all been the way it was built, the architecture. Yeah, look, big slabs, big chunks of what may have been more groundworks related to this place. Because it could have even been other little buildings all the way between here and the mansion. Yeah. The character of that, farms were built different back at that time. Maybe stables, like I said earlier. Yeah. Wow. It's just the detail and the stonework and the way they did things back at that time. So cool, compared to like modern buildings and things. And every week it just blows my mind with such a variation. Like, we never actually know what we're going to see. See up there, has that been a construction? So this area in the field here has been a bit of a quarry originally, and then it looks like it's been used as a dump. I was just keeping my eyes peeled for more little buildings or whatever, but you know how it is, folks. Sometimes so many years pass since these places were in their prime that history goes missing. And some of the World War II stuff wasn't the strongest of constructions, because it was obviously like radar buildings and things like that. But even though we've not seen any of those buildings, it's cool to remember that history, as well as the mansion history here on the land. And there's one of those old water pumps there. So some old estates and some old farms used to use a windmill with like a shaft driven down to a water pump below the ground here. And that was to get their fresh water. And look, we can see remains of this one here. I'm not sure if it dates back to the Victorian period or if it's a more modern contraption.
Wheel, eh?
Yeah, it's got the original wheel. Look at the state of it, eh? It's total mental. It's got a wooden thing there. This can all be super deeper in here, and I'm a bit wary. You can get a well. Obviously, I think it's in the middle. But you hate to be wary. I like to put the camera, I don't know how well that comes out. I don't know how well you can see that. Look, there's been a ladder going up it at one time. That's a wooden shaft in the middle, folks, check it out.
It's still there, eh?
And then this old wheel. Look, there's been apparatus and stuff mounted here as well. Yeah. Drive shafts and other cool things. Wow, it was definitely worth stepping over though, just to see that and document it. An old water pump tower. And it was probably squeaking and groaning as it was going. Adventures like this, folks, we just basically go left and right, spontaneous routes to document the coolest things. And it's cool to tick this hill off our list, because it has been one of these locations we've spoke about. We've even been on our way here a couple of times, and then we've seen other history and done it instead. So that castle, that big mansion that we just visited, folks, was built in the 1830s. And then, in what year it was taken over by the military?
And destroyed, blown up in the 1960s.
And also destroyed by the military, blown up in the 1960s. So that was actually used by the military, that building, potentially at the time of the Chain-Home radar. Yeah. And what were you going to say about the stables?
The stables and servants' quarters are still there at the rear.
And that was what we saw in the field. So that's cool to put that bit of the history to it. Does it say what year the military took it over? No.
Just says during the 1960s.
Oh, aye.
Oh, wait.
Blowing up in exercises. Yeah, it was in the 1830s. It was built by Thomas Colville, and yeah, demolished basically by the military. And that was like a lot of the big mansions. But the fact that this was actually a military site for such a long time I think it's like Royal Air Force that used to actually operate the chain home sites. So that is cool, folks. We've literally learned another wee bit of history related to this. So today's adventure, folks, we've been literally left and right through these fields. Obviously we respect like the landowner and that. We've documented some cool history that at the start of the video we didn't even know we were about to see. And it is crazy we've been able to uncover the history of that, document it and tell the history of the original house, and then the later use of the military, and then the World War II history of this hill linked in with it. That's been a special story of this history. And the hill here is called the Laws, and it's basically near the village of Newburgh in the wildlands of Scotland. And in the last episode we were also documenting like Iron Age history in the same place, so it's so cool that all that's in one area. So if anybody is exploring these lands, they always have to be respectful, like the landowners, the farm owners. Certain times of year you wouldn't actually be able to get through these locations because there's always cows and stuff in the fields. So yeah, you just have to be respectful, folks. You know how it is? We're always going into these places but leaving the land as we find them. Right, folks, we've made it back down to the beautiful village of Newburgh, which is up ahead, and that's the hill up there of the Laws that we just documented the incredible history on, not only on today's video but also on the last episode. So we'll end it here on this wee bridge at the edge of Newburgh. Goodbye from me, goodbye from Highlander 87, and we'll catch you very soon with the next adventure wherever we go in Scotland.